I'm just going to give you one thing, though, okay? You're bringing up gender roles, things like this. This was purported by feminism. Do you know where the word gender role got coined? No. Like, who coined it? It was in the 1970s by John Money. So before that, gender and sex were the exact same. Transgenderism really started to come from the 70s onwards because he separated that. And you can search this up. The reason he did that was to his little kids. He actually had two twins. One was a boy. They were both boys. And he wanted to turn one into a girl. So he had to coin the word gender role. So I don't believe in genders. There are two genders. There's two sexes. Gender and sex are the exact same. Christ, dash, boom. There you go, man.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, God bless you. Okay, dude? What do you think? Agree, disagree?
I disagree with pretty much all of this.
Okay. Oh no, I'll hold it. I'll hold it. Okay. In what sense?
Well, I specifically want to talk about the phrase "feminism is cancer."
Okay. Okay. Okay, sure, yeah, I'll jump straight in. Okay, so here's what I'll give you, okay? I'm going to write off first and second wave feminism. First wave feminism was giving women the right to vote. The vast majority of women did not want to vote, though. These were called anti-suffragettes. And the reason for that is because they'd have to get drafted into the military. It was only later that men said, okay, you don't have to get drafted and you can have rights. But I'll still write that off. I'll say first wave, cool. Second wave, that was more for legality as far as like workplace, stuff like that. I'll even write that off. Come third and fourth wave feminism, so the 90s onwards, there is no right that I have as a man that a woman does not have. And the last thing I'll say is that every negative status towards men over women in 2025. Suicide, violent crime, homelessness, dropping out of school, alimony, custody of the child. So feminism by nature is cancer because it's anti-man, it's anti-family, and it's pro-woman.
That's kind of a fallacy. You can't just write off part of part of the history of feminism and also claim that by nature it's not good and anti-man or whatever. Like,
you would say it's pro-man?
I would say, I mean, yes. Don't get me wrong. There are definitely a minority of feminists that are like, oh yeah, all men suck, but I don't take those people seriously. Okay.
But I would say that that's what's promoted in 2025, unfortunately. That's what modern feminism is. So I'm really after modern feminism. Today it's listen to the radio, Cardi B, I don't need no man. This is all secular. By 2030, 50% of women are going to be childless and single. That is 100% due to feminism. Abortion, Margaret Sanger, she's the one who funded Planned Parenthood. She herself was a feminist, a eugenicist. Like, the roots of feminism really are dark. Especially modern now. It's horrible, man.
Yes, but you go back to, any movement that's existed for more than 100 years has dark things in its past.
Right.
That's like,
but it shouldn't be dark present day. Like Christianity, sure, it had some dark things in the past, but today, Christian countries are the happiest countries in the world. They bring the most fruits, beneficial. They build the universities, the hospitals. Like, Christians are secular across the board, the happiest, most beneficial people to society. They donate the most. The majority of Nobel Peace Prizes are towards Christians. So I judge things on present day. We're supposed to judge a tree by its fruits. Feminism today has horrible fruits.
Okay. What would you say of the Me Too movement then? That was pretty objectively good. That was probably one of the largest feminist movements that we've had in modern day.
Sure.
So you agree with that? Like,
what is the Me Too movement exactly? That's more so just like is that with women or with is it like DEI or? I'm not too familiar with the Me Too movement.
You don't know what the Me Too movement is, yet you're arguing about modern day feminism?
Well, because I don't have to look at that one thing to be able to see collectively that men are suffering.
Okay, the Me Too movement was basically a group of largely women, although there were some accusations against men by men, such as ones for Kevin Spacey, that was calling out sexual abusers, typically in positions of power in
Sure.
Hollywood. So this is where the Harvey Weinstein allegations come from.
Okay.
So basically there were a lot of these Hollywood types and powerful people were accused of SA and rape and
Sure.
whatnot. So
Which I would condemn.
And they were getting accused by women, and as I said before, this is
Sure.
one of the largest feminist movements that's
Okay.
happened currently, along with the pink hat protests that happened during the previous Trump administration, and also protests that happened during when Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Gotcha.
So you agree with with my claim that #MeToo was good?
No, I don't. So I actually lived in Canada my whole life. It's very different than the States. We don't have a lot of these political movements. Like with Trump and stuff like that, we don't have that. So I'm just visiting here at the moment.
All right.
But I can still try to dissect it the best I can.
So you don't agree with that?
Yeah. So I'm against rape. If the man is SAing the woman, if anything like that, I'm a Christian. That's absolutely horrible. I believe rapists should be put to death or life in prison. I'm not. Like, when I attack feminism, I'm not trying to be a misogynist or to belittle women. I just want what feminism is equality of the sexes, and I don't believe in 2025 we have that. That's all.
So you said you're pro-women?
I'm pro-man, I'm pro-woman, I'm pro-nuclear family. I'm pro-God, I'm a Christian, yeah.
But
God
you also don't believe in equality of the sexes?
But what do you mean by equality of the sexes? I actually say I would believe more in equality of the sexes than feminists today.
Okay. In quality of the sexes, I would say
Human value, yeah.
yes, and human value in the eyes of the law, and in, I guess, in like social expectation. I guess
Well, I do believe men and women were different, right? We can look at our biology, our genetic makeup's different. So men and women are called to different things. Like my wife's going to gravitate towards different things than I will, but I still value her as a human, made in the image of God, the same. Yes.
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can agree that we are like that biology is different. Obviously, I don't have female genitalia.
Okay.
But you have to acknowledge that culture does play an impact in how we view gender. It's not just like. It's not just biology. The reason some people might prefer like a specific genre of stuff, or it's like of like fiction, of movies, or just like specific things in general,
Right.
is because they might be forced into gender roles via culture.
Yeah.
Now this is definitely less true because of the feminist movement, which I think is very good. It's very good.
I'm just going to give you one thing, though, okay? You're bringing up gender roles, things like this. This was purported by feminism. Do you know where the word gender role got coined?
No.
Like, who coined it? It was in the 1970s by John Money. So before that, gender and sex were the exact same. Transgenderism really started to come from the 70s onwards because he separated that. And you can search this up. The reason he did that was to molest little kids. He actually had two twins. One was a boy. They were both boys. And he wanted to turn one into a girl. So he had to coin the word gender role. So I don't believe in genders. There are two genders. There's two sexes. Gender and sex are the exact same. You're thinking of personalities. Like my wife is an example. She is a woman, but she has a more masculine personality.
Hold on. You previously claimed that modern day movements are kind of like separate from their origins.
Not necessarily.
So
They can iron out the kinks. But we should look at the origin. In fact, I base this based off the origin of Jesus. I look at secular scholars, the history of Jesus.
I agree. Then you and I are in agreement. We should look in the origins of things.
Yeah.
But we should also acknowledge that some of these movements have probably ironed out their issues.
Okay. But I would say feminism today has not ironed out the issues, and I think even the roots of feminism, search this up, there's a woman named Mary Wollstonecraft. She was in the 1700s, known as the godmother of feminism. She had a horrible past with men, absolute horrible.
I know someone who you're talking about.
So the roots are horrible with feminism too, but I'll still write that off.
They were also
Like-
involved in the cult.
Evolved in the cult, things like that. Like feminism as a whole is really bad, but legality-wise, I give people the benefit of the doubt. I still don't agree with first and second wave, but I'm not for beating women. I'm not for underpaying them. That's why I hate third wave onwards, because 1990 was the last legal trade, the marital right back.
Hold on. You just said you don't agree with first and second wave, which was largely about putting women in the workforce and also giving women the right to vote. So you don't agree with the giving them.
No, not necessarily. I do believe. Let me put it this way. I'll rephrase it. There are dark roots that I don't believe people fully take into account. But yes, women being able to vote, sure. Women getting the same pay, sure. Amazing, great. My only thing with that, though, is that a lot of times it's misconstrued. Like the majority of women in first wave feminism did not want to vote. And the problem is the majority of people don't say this. They push that so hard. These were called anti-suffragettes. So I just think it's a stickier past than we would like to admit. But yeah, I want women to have the same rights as us legality-wise. That's why I'm after modern feminism. Come the 90s, that was the last legal thing that men had over women. It was called the Marital Rape Act. Or if they were married, the woman didn't want to have sex, then the man could now be prosecuted. From that point on, that's when third wave feminism started. There's no legality that a man has that a woman doesn't have. And in fact, it's only belittling men.
This is where I kind of disagree with a lot of conservative takes. They genuinely think that government equality equality in the eyes of the law is the last step that we have no more progress to make in general, which I do think obviously equality to eyes of the law is like probably more important because that's just discrimination based off of factors that you cannot control. But there are still cultural factors that I think and
I agree.
That I think that we need to change.
I agree.
What is going on, guys? Hopefully you're enjoying today's video. I wanted to jump in here quickly and let you guys know that this ministry is completely self-funded by you guys. Your generosity allows myself and my wife Mallory to go to these college campuses to speak with students, share the gospel, and be able to give a defense in doing so. If you guys feel led, you can gift the ministry below, and I just want to thank you in advance. Next, for those of you who are feeling called to go preach the gospel yourself, to be an evangelist, I offer one-on-one coaching, guys, to equip you thoroughly, whether that's tackling arguments on atheism, abortion, LGBTQ, Islam, the list goes on. I take individuals from beginners all the way to more advanced to, again, give you the tools needed to not only share the good news, but combat opposition and do so in a meaningful way. You guys can always support the ministry by picking up merch below. And again, all of these proceeds allow myself and Mallory to do what we do. So I want to thank you in advance. God bless you guys, and we'll check you back in the video.
Like
Specifically towards men. Like men are belittled in culture today where women aren't. Being drafted into the war is an example, right? I don't need no man. You listen to Hollywood, man. You listen to Cardi B with the radio, right? The majority of it is anti-man and it's pro-woman. So I think culture... okay.
I
it's fine.
definitely agree with you. But let's
Okay,
let's
that's
talk.
good, we got common ground.
I kind of agree with you.
Okay.
Let's talk about the draft for a second.
Okay, sure.
So there's a large complaint about men's rights activists
Sure.
that men are getting drafted more.
Sure.
Why do men get drafted more? Because of social expectations from patriarchy.
Well, biological. It's not social, it's biological. Everything comes down to our root biology. It's because men are bigger, faster, stronger. That's why. It's as simple as that. It's not social, it's because men are bigger.
I mean,
We can fight.
generally yes, but you have to acknowledge that there is some sort of social expectation.
Sure, I'm agreeing with you. There is some social. I'm not denying that.
Okay, so if you acknowledge that there is social expectation,
social, yeah.
some social expectation
Yeah.
that men are that men are like better at fighting and are supposed to fight,
Mm-hmm.
then you can see how that would logically lead to men being drafted more in in Western culture. So
Well, then why aren't women today wanting to be drafted? Why aren't they signing up for the draft? Dude, it's more than just social. Women biologically, like, we live in the freest, most liberal place in the world. Women have every right. If you want to, I'll give you an example too, right? You can search this up. The majority of STEM jobs are done by men: science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Oh, yeah.
Why aren't women doing that? And I'll tell you why. It's because it's male dominated, because of the way our brain chemistry works. It's the same with the military. It's the same with war. So you could say it's social, but it's biological.
Okay, this is anecdotal, but I do have friends that are women that want to go into STEM.
I believe it.
And also, yes, it is because they are male dominated, but like,
Why are they male dominated? It's what we're better at doing. Like, I worked labor for quite a large portion of my life. There was only
Or-
2 women at that entire place. Would you say that's social though? 'Cause they were far worse, and that's
actually,
what that's.
yes, I would say that's
Okay,
social.
no, I would say, I mean, it could be. I agree with you now, it could be, but it's completely belittling women because those 2 women were slower than all of the men. And that's why I'm against, I believe it's called DEI and affirmative action, things like that, where we want to lower certain standards or get women into things like this just based on quotas. I believe, yes, go back to what are we good at?
Wait, so you just said it's belittling women,
Right.
But also said that women, the women in the what is it? STEM are the women that you know in STEM are slower. So
No. Well, I'm saying generally speaking. Well, okay, those are 2 complete different things. I was talking about labor. Yeah, women with labor, not with STEM. Women with labor. The 2 that I've worked with, there were only 2 out of thousands of men, and they were slower. I worked side by side with them. So I think it's belittling to them because it's saying, you know, your value. You have to work as hard as a man. You have to lift as much as a man. And I think no, we're called differently, and that's why women naturally go towards more nurturing jobs. Maybe it's being a nurse. It's a receptionist. Things like that. That's fine. I wouldn't want my wife doing what I do. Right? We are different.
I would say that I think it's like cultural aspects that are like, gender roles that are motivating people to do this, but I don't really.
What about before gender roles, though? Gender roles was coined in the 1970s. Before that, gender and sex were always synonymous.
Just
Your
because
dad.
something is coined in the 1970s doesn't mean it doesn't exist up until then.
Yeah, sure, but what I'm saying, though, is men and women have always gravitated towards those things. Men, hunting, gathering; women, nurturing, child feeding. Through all millennia. This is not no cultural, social, that's just biology.
Yes.
Culture comes from biology, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And when it doesn't, it backfires.
That I actually agree with. Culture does come from from biology.
It should.
But you have to recognize that, like, when men were out hunting, like, things are fundamentally different now.
I agree.
Men are not out hunting anymore.
Yep.
Men do not have to be the sole providers anymore. And in
Yeah.
fact, if you are the sole provider, it's probably like a disadvantage to you because
Sure.
that's like economically
Yeah.
disadvantaged. Also,
But it's still in their biology. Like, I'm gonna naturally work harder, take more aggressive roles. That's why the wage gap's been debunked. But the reason for that is because men, statistically, they're more aggressive. They work longer shifts. They don't have to get pregnant. They're going to fight more. That's in our biology. It has nothing to do with social. So yes, I'm not hunting a gazelle, but I'm gonna work harder at entrepreneurship, which is like the modern day gazelle. That doesn't change.
okay, I'm gonna shift the topic a little bit. Not
Okay,
because I
that's
don't
okay,
want
that's
to
okay.
debate you on this point, but I just have a question for you. Do you think trad wives are good?
Depends what you mean by trad wives.
Like a system in which men is the sole provider in a household, and women stay home and take care of the kids.
I think generally speaking, that's good. I think that if the woman, if she wants to work, great, amazing. I'm just against forcing. I would hate, and I say this because I was raised by a single mom. My dad died when I was young. I know that, like, when I had the dad around, being able to provide a lot, my mom was still working. She was much happier. Where when the father was gone and now she was forced to work, her happiness levels went down. And women today, search this up, have never been on more anti-anxiety, anti-depression medication than before. That's due to feminism. That's due to women. You don't need no man. Go get your career, and then their eggs rot, and then they can't have kids, and they're miserable.
I mean, that could just be because we're better at identifying anxiety and depression, and also it's
Why are they anxious and depressed though?
probably like men like.
Well, yeah, where's the mental illness coming from? That's
there's
skyrocketed
also-
too.
There's also like a lot of other stressful factors, such
I
as
get
the
it.
economy.
I get it.
So, first of all,
I think it comes down because we've removed God, ultimately.
women during the 1950s were also like heavily on pills and whatnot. And second of all,
I got to see those stats. I haven't seen that.
I'm not the most well versed in, to be honest. I'm a college student.
But if you make a claim, you got to be able to back it up, right?
Yes.
I'll take it for the sake of this debate, though, sure. But I know that it's not higher than now. I know that for a
Okay.
fact. Anti-anxiety, depression.
But if you're pro-trad wife,
Sure.
you have to support good economic policy and an economic policy
Yeah.
that would support a stronger
Sure.
economy with a large social safety net.
Okay.
And higher wages,
Yeah.
because you need people to be able to be reliant on
I
one
agree.
person.
Sure, I think that's ideal. Yeah. That'd be great. I think we're getting taxed way out of our mind. Yeah. I'm not for that, man. I'm not for going to Chipotle. It's like $25 for a thing. Yeah. But
All
that's
right.
kind of irrelevant, though.
Yes.
to the point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
You brought some good points, though. This is good. You're pretty
Okay.
smart. You're one of the smartest people I had.
So you still make the claim that feminism today is bad.
Antithetical to men to go out to the nuclear family and to women. Yeah. I think it's cancer. Yeah.
Honestly, I would argue that feminism today, well, not every single person, obviously. I don't believe.
We got to look at the.
But I do think addressing the cultural ideas of patriarchy that stem from patriarchy could actually help men. And feminism is what I largely see doing that, because
Really? Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you, I hate MRAs, men's rights activists.
Okay. I wouldn't consider myself a men's rights activist.
I know. But yes, I do think that feminism is largely can help men address specific issues such as emotional vulnerability.
Okay.
Social expectations
Yeah.
about like being the ones to go fight and go out and do stuff. And I think feminism is largely the only movement that's doing that, because we don't have.
Sure. I see that. I see that.
We don't have like a pro-men's movement.
And I think that that's good in some areas. I do believe, yes, men have been suppressed in their emotions, yada yada. Feminism, it's allowed them to do so, but men are still unhappier today than they were before. Men, like the suicide rate for men is 4 times. It's 4 times higher than women. So I actually think feminism, or that allowing men to be more emotional, more in touch with their emotions, is actually backfiring on men. Men need to learn how to be equipped for life, because guess what? Then when I'm soft and life smacks me, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to handle it. So I think there is some good, but I think ultimately it is bad.
I will agree with you.
We need
that
more male role models to say, hey, here's how we got to be equipped for life.
I actually do agree with you on that, and I think that there has been some response to that online with like large growths of like pro-men's
Or like
left
Andrew
wing.
Tate, guys like that, yeah.
No, I meant more like Hassan Piker, Vosh, other people like that.
I haven't heard them yet.
If you
But strong masculine characters, you've got to admit, like Andrew Tate, guys like that. I'm not saying I fully agree with them, but it's undeniable he's got eyes.
you do need.
That's stirring up that masculine spirit. We don't need feminine spirit for men. We need strong men to equip us.
All right, you do need like more male role models specifically in left-wing media.
Both.
Yes.
Christian role models, I would say, because Andrew Tate's not a Christian, so that's why I disagree with him. I'm not for banging a bunch of women, just sleeping around. I think that's antithetical. I actually think that's male feminism in a lot of ways. It's anti-marriage, anti-nuclear family. I'm a Christian. I have to bring it back to the Bible, right?
Okay.
Pro-marriage.
But a lot of the issues that men have can come from late-stage capitalism, because when you're economically suffering, as we are in the United States, as we see with like tariffs and eggs and prices and whatnot, prices going up, men's self-worth goes down. Because men are valued based off their ability to provide for other people, based off of patriarchal ideas. So you have to fight against that, and also make the economy better in order to make it so that men do not off themselves at large rates. And also addressing the point of men needing to be socialized better. You can do this by promoting emotional vulnerability in men, which patriarchy historically does not.
Right.
So in order to improve men's So in order to improve men's lives, you have to fight against patriarchy, which is what feminism ultimately does.
I wouldn't say fight against it. I would say just redefine it or calibrate it. Because I do agree with you. There is a quote-unquote toxic masculinity where, shut up, your emotions don't matter. I believe that's a big part why, men are committing suicide, but I wouldn't be for that.
All right.
That's why I bring it back to the Bible, right? The Bible's to have fellowship, go to church, have believers where you can vent to,
All right, I'm going to let other people debate.
That's good, dude. Thank you so much, okay? I
What
appreciate
video
you.
is this?
Yeah, Christ Developed on YouTube. Christ-Developed. You were great. Appreciate you, man.